There are some stories that refuse to stay in the past, not because people keep retelling them, but because they never truly ended. The story of the Amber Room is one of those. For more than 300 years, people have talked about it with the same mixture of fascination and disbelief, as if they still expect someone, somewhere, to open a hidden door and discover that nothing was ever lost at all. Its disappearance has inspired books, documentaries, expeditions, conspiracy theories, and endless arguments among historians. Yet, despite all the attention, despite decades of searching and entire archives being opened, the truth remains frustratingly incomplete. What happened to the Amber Room is still unknown. But before it became one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries, it was simply something extraordinary that human hands created. The room was born in Europe during an age obsessed with grandeur. In the early 18th century, royal courts competed not only through armies and diplomacy, but through beauty. Palaces were designed to overwhelm visitors. Every ceiling was painted higher, every hall built larger, every decoration intended to prove that wealth could become art. Amber at the time held a special place among luxury materials. Unlike diamonds or gold, amber felt strangely alive. It carried warmth. Light moved through it instead of reflecting off it. Some pieces contained tiny traces of another world, ancient insects, fragments of leaves, moments preserved from forests millions of years old. To create an entire room from amber sounded almost unreasonable, which may have been exactly why they decided to do it. The project began in Prussia under King Frederick I. Craftsmen spent years shaping delicate amber panels into decorative surfaces unlike anything Europe had seen before. It was difficult work. Amber cracked easily and required patience that bordered on obsession. The final result looked less like interior decoration and more like something imagined. Walls shimmered in shades of deep gold and orange. Mirrors expanded the space. Gold leaf framed the amber panels. When candles were lit, visitors described the effect as almost unreal. People later exaggerated the descriptions, of course. Stories tend to become larger over time. But even contemporary accounts suggest one thing clearly: the room left people speechless. Ironically, the Amber Room did not stay in Prussia for long. Politics moved it. In 1716, King Frederick William I presented the room as a diplomatic gift to Tsar Peter the Great of Russia. Today, that sounds impossible, giving away an entire room. But royal gifts operated by different rules, and so the room traveled east. In Russia, it found its permanent home, inside Catherine Palace, near St. Petersburg. There, instead of remaining untouched, it evolved. Russian architects expanded it. More amber was added. New decorative elements transformed it into something even more extravagant than the original. By the time the work was complete, the room had become legendary. Visitors traveled specifically to see it. Foreign guests wrote about it in journals and letters. For generations, the Amber Room remained exactly where people expected it to be. That permanence created an illusion. When something survives long enough, people begin believing it always will. History rarely rewards that belief. When Germany invaded the Soviet Union during World War II, museum workers suddenly faced a problem no one had prepared for. How do you save a room? Paintings can be rolled. Statues can be moved. Documents can be packed. But walls built from aging amber? That was different. Curators initially attempted to dismantle sections of the room. According to later reports, they quickly realized the material had become too fragile. Panels began to crack. Time had transformed beauty into vulnerability. Eventually, workers reportedly covered the room instead, hoping it would escape attention. Whether they believed the deception would actually work is impossible to know. German forces reached the palace quickly, and unlike ordinary soldiers searching for valuables, they already knew exactly what they were looking for. The Amber Room had been famous for centuries. Specialized units arrived. The room was carefully dismantled. Workers packed panel after panel into crates. What had once taken years to assemble disappeared in days. The operation was surprisingly efficient. Nothing suggests chaos. Nothing suggests destruction. At least, not yet. The crates were transported to Königsberg, a historic German city on the Baltic Sea. There, the Amber Room was reportedly reassembled and displayed again. For a brief moment, it existed almost as if nothing had happened. Visitors saw it. Photographs were taken. Records mention exhibitions. That detail makes the mystery even stranger, because this wasn't a treasure that vanished in confusion. People knew where it was, until suddenly, they didn't. As the war turned against Germany, conditions changed rapidly. Bombings intensified, cities collapsed, military priorities shifted. Protecting art became irrelevant compared to survival. This is where the historical trail begins to break apart. Some reports suggest the room remained inside Königsberg Castle until the city came under attack. Others claim German authorities ordered evacuation. Crates may have been moved, or hidden, or loaded onto trains or ships. Every witness seemed to remember something slightly different. One person described underground storage. Another remembered transport orders. Someone else insisted the room had already been destroyed. By the time Soviet forces captured Königsberg in 1945, the Amber Room had vanished. No confirmed remains were recovered. No complete inventory appeared. No official explanation closed the case. Only uncertainty remained. That uncertainty created a perfect environment for theories. The simplest explanation says the room burned. Amber is organic. Fires spread through the city. Buildings collapsed. Treasure destroyed. Case closed. Many historians still consider this the most likely outcome. But people struggle to accept ordinary endings for extraordinary things, and unanswered questions continued to appear. If the room burned, where were the remains? Why did some documents hint at movement? Why did witnesses continue reporting transport activity? Slowly, the mystery grew. Search teams began exploring abandoned tunnels. Stories spread about hidden chambers beneath mountains. Treasure hunters scanned mines and underground networks. Entire expeditions formed around rumors. Maps surfaced. Former soldiers spoke. Journalists investigated. Again and again, people announced discoveries. Again and again, they found nothing. Another theory became especially popular: the Baltic Sea. During the final months of the war, ships carried civilians, military cargo, and valuables westward. Some believe the Amber Room left land entirely, perhaps hidden aboard one of those vessels. Several wrecks have been explored over the years. Objects have been recovered, but never enough to end the mystery. At some point, people stopped searching only for amber. They started searching for certainty. The room became symbolic, not simply because it was valuable, but because it represented something history constantly does. It takes things away. Entire cities disappear. Languages vanish. Art survives centuries, and then suddenly doesn't. The Amber Room became a reminder that even masterpieces are temporary. Eventually, Russia made a decision. Waiting forever for the original no longer felt enough. If history refused to return the room, they would build it again. The reconstruction was enormous. Craftsmen studied old photographs, examined historical documents, rediscovered techniques, worked with amber the way earlier artisans had. The project lasted decades. In 2003, the reconstructed Amber Room opened inside Catherine Palace. Visitors entered once again. Light moved across amber walls. People admired it, photographed it, felt wonder. But there was also another feeling, something quieter, because everyone knew they weren't standing inside the lost room. They were standing inside humanity's memory of it. And somehow that feels different. Today, the mystery continues. Every few years, another article appears, another possible location, another hidden archive, another reason to believe. Most lead nowhere, yet people keep looking. Maybe because treasures are easier to imagine than endings. Or maybe because somewhere deep down, everyone likes to believe that some beautiful things are not truly gone, only waiting to be found. And if that is true, perhaps the Amber Room is still out there, silent, dark, hidden from the world, waiting for light.